9. Fella making off with the case here, must be his car. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, and again, one last appeal to people the other side of the partition out there. If you can come in and join us for this, if you like, roundup section here and what we're doing today, which has all been very important and continues to be through the next section, would you welcome, please, up onto the stage, Martin Sweeney. And Martin is from the ARC Cancer Centre, and he wants to talk to you about, well, very important things and something very important. Welcome, please, Martin. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed, folks. First of all, I'd like to just personally say how happy I am to be here today and to be discussing this topic of prostate cancer. Since my own surgery in 2015, I've been a patient advocate for people who have had a prostate cancer journey somewhere in their lives, and not necessarily people who were treated for prostate cancer, but who have had issues relating to the prostate, because it is very common and prevalent amongst men of our generation. So the first thing I'd like to do is to welcome up on stage three very important people. They're the three men, part of the men's sheds, who are part of a pilot project last year to inform more people in the sheds about prostate cancer. And some of you may have been to the talks that these lads and their colleagues gave. So could you give a big welcome, please, to, in no particular order, Joe Fenton from Castlebar, Kevin Brogan from Drogheda, who's also the Louds men's shed rep, and Mark Jean Brannock from Carraroe. Thank you. Just when the lads are getting settled, could I ask a question, show of hands, if you wouldn't mind? Has anybody in the room been diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lives? Wow, so like definitely 12 or 15 men here, and you're all here, which is the best sign of all. Men who are diagnosed with prostate cancer in time have a 98% chance of being alive 5 years later. So the big message today has to be, find out what your state of health is and whether or not you might have a reason to get further investigations done or whatever. So without further ado, I'm going to go to the lads, and I'm going to start with Joe. And we're just going to have a discussion here for the next 15 minutes, talk about their stories and how their lives changed with their prostate cancer experience. And with Joe, you don't have and never had prostate cancer, but your prostate was giving you a lot of health problems for a long time. You might just give us your story. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Yeah, a bit exhausted after the previous, but yeah, I had difficulties with my prostate. Started in 2008. Now, when I had the procedure done that helped my situation, my brother-in-law died from cancer, and that really galvanized me to maybe tell my story, maybe that I could help somebody along the way. In 2008, I had a very bad urinary infection, and the urine flow from the bladder stopped, and I had to get a catheter inserted. And I was in hospital for nearly a week. And when I recovered, my GP said, your prostate is large. I was about 55 at the time. He said, your prostate is large. It enlarges with age beyond 50, but yours is large to start with. He said, you need to come to me for a physical examination every year, which I did. And anytime I got a bit of a cold or a flu, I was concerned because I didn't want to get that infection because it was really difficult. But come sort of when I went up into my late 60s, the situation deteriorated, and I was getting up 3-4 times a night. I was struggling in public situations, an urge to go and not able to go, really difficult. And again, the flow ceased, and I had to get a catheter in again, and I went to a urologist, and he told me, he gave me what they call a flow test. and you empty your bladder, which I did or attempted to do, and when I went back in, he was able to tell me there was still 40% urine still in the bladder, which is a massive problem because it's going to cause further infections. So he explained a number of options, and one of them was a resection of the prostate, and which I went for, and it basically removes part of the prostate to alleviate, if you like, or allow the urethra, which takes the urine from your bladder through that channel, that it doesn't close, which mine was closing, but the prostate was swelling around it, you know. So I went for that, and it was successful. I was 3 days in the Bon Secours in Galway, and I suppose on a kind of a comical note, you have a catheter in for 6 or 8 weeks. It's removed, you go to the toilet, and you're hoping that things will happen like they should. And when they do, I can tell you, you're a happy man, you know. So, you know, so I recovered, and my, you know, quality of life has increased significantly. I'm not in getting up 3 and 4 times a night and getting up once a night. The flow is good, and you know, what I'd say to everybody is don't be going through the discomfort that I went through for so long. Get yourself checked. Cancer Care West, your GP, you know, there's various places you can go to. And, you know, I suppose my story is that I had issues with my prostate. They were solvable. And now, you know, I'd have to say, you know, I'm pleased with myself. Now, the worry of prostate cancer was always there, but thankfully, I had nothing sinister in my prostate, you know.
Brilliant, Joe.
I hope that explains as best I can. Yeah.
Absolutely, well said. Thank you. Thanks indeed, Joe. And just to reassure Ben a little bit further on again, like it's incredibly normal to have problems peeing once you get over the age of 50, sometimes before that. And there are ways and means to try to make that a little bit easier for yourself. Some men now I talk to, and I talk extensively with men around the country, it's just funny, you pick up little tips here and there. And a man told me not so long ago that he sits down now in the toilet at home to have a pee because it significantly reduces his worries of a smell in his trousers after going to the loo, or not emptying his bladder fully and having to shake and make a mess in the toilet or whatever. We shouldn't be shy about talking about these things. They're the most natural things in the world for us all. And that little tip I've passed on to so many people, and they come back to me now and they say, Jesus, it's made such a difference to my life. And, you know, little thing like that. And again, it comes about from talking about the topic, and sharing experiences might encourage, even if one man, we all said this here before we started this morning, if one man in this room goes and gets something done which might indeed save his life or make his life much better, then our day is worthwhile. But it's the quality of life issues that we want to stress today, just feeling better about your general contentment. And you will do if you're not worrying about why you have the pain in the stomach, or why you're getting up 6 or 7 times in the night, or why you're leaking, or all of those things that happen. Normally, they're all treatable, and normally, as I said, anybody who's diagnosed in time with prostate cancer will have a range of treatments and options available to them, which they can take, and which will certainly make their lives better in many ways. And that leads us on then to Kevin, because Kevin's story is different to Joe's, in that, Kevin, you had a family history of prostate cancer. You feared you were going to get prostate cancer, and you did. And maybe you'll take it up from there, please.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I have a history of prostate cancer. My father passed away with prostate cancer. My brother actually got his prostate removed around the age I am now. Also, another thing too is I discovered that my mother had breast cancer, and my sister has recovered from breast cancer recently, and that can be in the family as well. So there's a link there. So I kind of got the sense that it was a trap to line winner that I was going to get prostate cancer. and I suppose I was waiting for it to happen. But one of the things that I did at the very, very beginning was to insist that I got a PSA test in my blood test every time. And I think this is very, very important. Some doctors, for some reason or other, don't include it on the blood test. Every one of us should be getting a PSA test, and in the blood test as well. I think that's very, very important. So 2 years ago, I was still kind of coming back from bowel cancer. I had bowel cancer, and I was lucky enough that it just one operation did the job. I didn't have to get any other follow-up. And I was brought into to my consultant, and he said that I had prostate cancer. I still have it. But one of the things he said to me, which was interesting, he said, Kevin, he says, something else is going to kill you other than this. And I was actually very, very relieved at that. But the thing is, I still kind of felt, okay, this is something I have to get sorted. And I did a lot of research into it. And it was at at an Irish Men's Sheds project about prostate cancer last year or the year before, that I learned about brachytherapy, that it wasn't necessary to get the prostate out. And I hope now actually to go for brachytherapy. I have to go back to the consultant on Wednesday, and we will be having a good conversation about what is going to happen in the new year. And I think that's one thing. But one thing I found about it was that the more I actually learned about it, the more I kind of felt a little bit more relieved about it. It's a worry, yes. I just want to get it before it gets me, I suppose. And there is always that fear in it. But also I feel I'm in control of it now. I can actually do something about it. And so I'm glad now I'm not afraid of it. And I'm going to do something about it. So that is one of the things that, now I've gone for I got the PSA, I've gotten MRI scans, I've got the biopsies and all the rest. And it was the biopsy that showed it up. It wasn't the MRI scan that showed it up, it was the biopsy that showed it up. Although we were chatting earlier and others said that it's the MRI that showed it up and not the biopsy. But I know I now have it and I can actually do something about it. And I look to the future, I look to a long life, a long future. I'm not going anywhere soon. And so I feel more confident now having been diagnosed, I think. And there's a great confidence in that as well. Okay.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know if that...
Brilliant. Thanks very much indeed, Kevin. And in Kevin's case, as he said, he found out as much as possible about his condition before making a choice. Sometimes you're in such a state of shock when you get a diagnosis of prostate cancer, you may have left it a little bit too late, or you may just be so, your world changes so much that sometimes it has been reported that men make rushed decisions without really finding out as much as possible about their condition, the extent of cancer, where it is, and what the Gleason scale we were talking about earlier in Kevin's case is relatively low. So he had time to consider his options and look at various treatments and make the decision that was right for him. So he managed his condition and is now the better for it and happier for having done so. That brings us on to our third speaker today, and you may have seen an excerpt on the Men's Shed television TG Cahir programme, which was a lovely piece which Martin was involved in a couple of weeks ago, where he spoke about his story of being diagnosed with cancer and the shock of having been diagnosed with cancer and the urgency that had to be addressed when that happened. So thanks very much for for telling your story, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Hello, everybody. I was never as nervous in my whole life, but anyway. But oh yes, with all these fellas here. So anyway, 2021 was a very interesting year. Did you ever hear the saying they have in China? May you live in interesting times. 2021 was a very interesting year for me, and it was around February, around that time, and I used to be driving down to the local beach with the dog to bring him for a walk, and I said I'll have to switch off the heated seat, you know, because it was burning hot, like, and the heated seat wasn't on at all, like. And I said, oh, there's something very strange about this. So I went to the GP, and I was diagnosed with prostatitis. If anyone here ever had it, it's a very, very uncomfortable condition. It's just an infection of the prostate. So I went to the urologist then, and he said to me, well, I'll put you on a couple of months of antibiotics, and it improved it a little bit. And he said, well, you know, come back to me in a few months' time, he said. So I went back to the urologist then, and he said, it's not 100%. So the GP then decided to send me for an MRI. And I went in June, I think it was, 2021. And it was an MRI at midnight. It's a very strange experience. I didn't care what time of day it was. There was no traffic, you know, in Galway. Can you imagine that? It took me 3 days to come here, you know, to be here today. But anyway, so the GP rang me the following day around 10 or 12 o'clock, around that time, and he says, well, you had an MRI last night, he says, and I said, yeah. And I have a funny feeling that's not a great thing, I says, to get a phone call this quickly after. And he said, no. He's very blunt, like, and there was no sugar coating. There's no sugar coating it anyway. So I said, there's an area of interest, he said. And is that another name, I says, for a tumor? And he says, yeah. Oh, thanks. And then I had to go into the classroom after hearing this, like, and there was 32 kids inside in the classroom, and carried on, and it was okay. I didn't think I was an actor, but you know, I managed to last a few hours to get home, and then I was sent in for what do you call it? Take the samples.
Biopsy.
Biopsy. Yeah. Sorry, no, Irish is my first language, and find it very hard to think of everything. But anyway, I was supposed to get a biopsy then in 26th of August, but my father died the day before. He was in the regional, he caught the COVID in the ward in the regional, and I visited him the week before, and I caught the COVID myself as well. So August was a very interesting month. So that was postponed till September, till the COVID cleared, and I had a biopsy then. And on the 3rd of October, I was told by the urologist that the biopsy results were positive, that they take about 30 samples, and it was in 10 of them. And I didn't know the urologist would know straight away. He said in the morning that, oh, you're grand, he says, there's nothing in it. It's only kind of a scar tissue from the prostatitis, he says, there's nothing there. But while I was leaving the hospital at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m., he put his arm around me, he says, are you be okay, he said. And I said, that doesn't sound great. He knew by the color of the samples while he was taking them, it was in 10 out of the 30. So, and then the big meeting then, he told me to come back in a few weeks' time. And then, you know, so he said, you have two options, he said, an operation, a radical prostatectomy, where they take out the prostatectomy completely, and the surrounding organs as well, or the
Nerves.
Nerves.
And nerves as well, yeah. So, and I said, is there any other option? And the boys had options, and I was hearing about other people having uranium pellets inserted to keep the cells in check, and other people took hormone tablets to keep the testosterone levels down because it thrives on testosterone, the disease. So I said, what about those options? I said, I could take any other option. He says, there's no option, he says, except the radical prostatectomy or just to leave it. And I said, that's not a great option, is it? I'll take option A, please, Bob. But anyway, so the operation was to be 2 weeks before Christmas 2021. Every month had something special for me. But anyway, couldn't go ahead with the operation. The night before the operation, the heart was racing, and then it was cancelled, and I was told to go home and come back 2 days before Christmas to get a really fancy procedure called a cardioversion. That's when they stop your heart and they start it up again with the pads. But I didn't mind that. I don't like, they had to shave your chest. That's what I hated. So anyway, they started it up and they got it into the right rhythm again. So the 24th, I'm nearly finished now. 24th of February then, I had the operation. And when I woke up, everybody was talking about the war. And I said, what war? And I said, have I been in a coma for months or something? Because I didn't hear about any war, because when I was being wheeled down to the operating theatre, the war in Ukraine started, and I woke up hearing everybody, nurses, doctors, everybody talking about the war. And I also found out my aunt and her husband had split up. And I said, it must be 3-4 months in a coma, I said. Everything happened that day. But anyway, they removed the prostate, and I've been very well since. They don't really prepare you as well as... It's very hard to take in everything that you hear. And of course, there's all these issues afterwards with leakage and what do you call it? Incontinence, is it?
Yes.
I thought that only happened in Europe. Over on the continent, sorry. That's a poor joke, sorry.
I'll give it to you.
And then there's the other one. There's two more, sorry. The elephant in the room, erectile dysfunction. Nobody talks about that because that's the elephant in the room. So it's a reality. In most cases it happens. And the third one was, when people talk to me and they were talking about, oh, you're sick, I heard you were sick, you had cancer. And it's only prostate cancer, all right. Oh, so, because there's a snobbery about cancer, would you believe it? I think pancreatic is at the top, I think. And it goes down there, and prostate cancer is down here. It's in the little leagues. Seemingly, nobody dies from prostate cancer, which is not true, as we heard from Kevin here. And so I used to get really annoyed when I heard that. And I used to say, well, one fella said to me, he says, oh, if that's the cancer to get if you're going to get cancer. And I said, I'm so blessed, I said. Geez, I'm delighted. I'm so happy now. And geez, I'm the lucky one. It's like winning the lotto. And but anyway, to finish off, going back to the elephant, the guy next to me in the room, he had the operation the day after me. And he said, the following day, he was going home, and he says, geez, he says, you won't believe what the consultant did. He says, he's after giving me a prescription, he says, for Viagra. And he says, it's the fucking last thing in my mind, he says, with a catheter and 5 holes in the stomach where they take it out with the Da Vinci robot, a special robot. He says, the last thing in the world, he says, that I'm thinking about now, he says, is, you know what, sexual intercourse. People are so afraid to say it. But anyway, and it was for circulation. It wasn't for what he thought. But I was on Google before that, and I knew full well it was a treatment. So I told him not to take it till he got home. And I said, don't look at me, whatever you do. So that's one of the things, really. We can laugh about it, it's great. I can talk about anything, the lads the same way. We can talk about these things, but we need to talk about them. And it's the elephant in the room. People don't like to talk about it, but I love to talk about it. It's great crack. But so I hopefully there'll be a screening, something like the breast check screening program. We need some sort of system or to screen, and men don't like to go for this digital exam. I thought it was something you did on a computer, but when the GP put on his glove, I knew what he meant. So with that, thank you very much.
Fair play to Martin. And thank you very much. And with most things, as we know, when we laugh and we make light of things a little bit, it's easier to get around those unmentionables. Yeah, we're called the unmentionables, and unfortunately, that is the reality of life. That sexual function and urinary control will be normally affected after a cancer treatment for prostate cancer, but there are things you can get and devices and medicines and so forth that help. But the important thing, I know we were talking about earlier, Marcin, is to find out about those things. You were aware of an oncology unit in Galway, you found out about it without being referred to it, which deals specifically with sexual or penile rehabilitation. And it is important, and it is the elephant in the room, and no matter what age you are or what your circumstances are, you're entitled to have a sex life if you want to have a sex life. And you should never think that the diagnosis of cancer or the things your doctor's telling you to save your life, if you like, trumps everything else. Of course you want to save your life, but you also want to have a quality of life after diagnosis and after treatment. So never be ashamed or afraid to talk about that to your consultant, to your doctor, to your carer, to your partner. And I want to bring in the partner here before we close, and maybe ask one of the lads maybe to help me here, because your partner and your close family members will be impacted by a prostate cancer diagnosis. If it's incontinence or if it's with your partner and your intimate life with your partner, they will be also affected. But don't think that that's the end of it all if you can't have penetrative sex. There are so many other ways, if you are brave enough or able enough to talk to your partner about, of enjoying intimate moments with your partner, kissing and cuddling and doing maybe things that are a little bit outside the box. But maybe that was a bad use of words, excuse me.
Explain.
Maybe that was bang on, actually, but well, so I'll pass it back. Kevin, go for it. Sorry, Kevin. But you know what I meant.
Yeah, that's true, but I must ask him what these methods are later on. I'll talk to him in private. But that's very, very true. It's very, very important, actually, how your partner and your family actually are impacted, by it as well. But I think it's also very, very important, and Michael Harding talked about it this morning, is talking to your family and talking about it as well. I think it's very, very important. And also, I think it's very, very important that we talk about this. I think if we're to bring anything away, is actually to talk about this, because this is something that we were asking in the earlier about how many people in the room here could have the possibility of getting prostate cancer. And there's probably about 20 or 30 of us in the room that may actually get prostate cancer. But that's not to frighten you. That is to just make you aware that there's a possibility that it's there. And to also, to be informed about it. And I think also the The PSA in the blood test, I think, is so very, very important. That every time we go for a blood test, that we get the doctor to include the PSA. Some doctors don't include it, but it should be included in that. And if the PSA is rising, then it's something to look at. Okay. Also, I think we need to look at our own family as well. Find out what the family history is. Because if the family history, if there's prostate cancer in the family somewhere in the generations, then that kind of increases the risk of you contracting prostate cancer. But I think that's very, very important. But talk about it, and I think, like, if you like, we will be about after this. If you want to come and chat with us, I don't want anyone to think, oh, if I'm going to be talking to that guy, I'm going to be talking about prostate cancer. But come and talk to us about it afterwards if you want to chat about it. Okay.
Thanks, Kevin. Well done. I think time is against us, but we got through a lot there today, and it's because of the honesty of the three guys to talk and to stand up, to sit there in front of you all and tell their stories. It means an awful lot. So our very own Brolly, O'Rourke and Spillane, give them a big round of applause, please. And sorry, just one other thing. Clem Fallon from the Irish Cancer Society has a stand over there. But I also noticed that there's stands on mental health and just general welfare and men's aid and so on. Lots of services there, lads, that you really should talk to and get brochures and engage with, because talking is everything. Engagement with other men and with dedicated cancer support services or men's sheds and similar organisations. Talk, share experiences, make it easier to talk and make it easier for other people to talk as well, and you're saving lives. And thank you very much for your attention today. Thank you.
Martin, thank you very much indeed. Martin Sweeney, ladies and gentlemen, and his panel here. I can tell you for a fact, Martin, these three lads here beside me, much easier to deal with than Brolly, Spillane and O'Rourke over the years. There's no question about that. I was smiling to myself, Martin, when you were talking about the fact that when you were in hospital, that they stopped your heart to put it back into rhythm again. Yeah. In my case, my heart stopped all by itself and they had to restart it to put it back into rhythm. So we had a different experience of more or less the same kind of thing. But well done, guys, and thank you very much indeed. Now, my friends,